Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome our featured vocalists today, bringing us our national anthem. Alison McConkey, an American soprano, has been praised for her beauty of tone, commanding stage presence, and fine acting ability. First place district winner of the Metropolitan Opera National Council of Auditions, as well as a recipient of an Opera Online Award. McConkey entices audiences with a captivating sense of drama and a confident vocal technique. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would rise and remove cover for the singing of our national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, Alison McConkey with our national anthem. Again, we thank her for joining us on our Gold Cup Qualifier Day as we lead up to the first horse. If you're watching on the World Wide Web, you'll be being joined here in just a moment by Jimmy Toronto, Frank Madden, and Mary Manfredi will be bringing you the action of our Gold Cup competition in the qualifier. And now I'll send it out to sound the call for our first entry to Mr. Alan Keeley, our ringmaster from New York.
Well, we'd like to welcome everybody here to North in the $85,000 American Gold Cup Qualifier presented by Windsor Show Stables. Jimmy, what are your thoughts about today's flying? Horse just jumping this triple bar directly in front of us with a spread of 1.95, almost 2 meters wide.
Yeah, that's a wide triple bar, and I think this whole line right here in front of us is almost a bit of a gymnastics. It's all downhill. You know, in my opinion, it's sort of all front end. Just, you know, the hill's going to carry you a little bit, and you just got to take care of the front end. I think although the jumps are wide, I think the hill really carries you.
And here she comes to our final line, fences 12A and B, quite tall, vertical.
So right off the bat, we see our first clear, at least jumping round. We don't see the clock at this point, but ours jumped a beautiful round, had a light rub on the second to last jump. I think that's set in a very weird spot on the course. It's right out of a short turn, and I don't think the horse is going to jump that jump very well.
And we continue on representing Venezuela. He was the individual silver medalist at the Pan American.
Yeah, and I think Alan he's a great course designer. He really uses the field to work towards getting rails down. I think he also uses a lot of things outside the ring to distract horses and riders.
So next in we have SF or Rancio. This is ridden by Andres Rodriguez. Andres has had a great year. He just come off the Pan Am Games, won a silver medal there. Had some great wins this summer in Spruce Meadows, jumped the Puissance in Dublin. So really a seasoned rider, I would say. This is a fairly new mount to this level, but Chapito has a lot of experience, worked a long time with Nelson Pessoa, and now he works with legendary horseman Eddie Mackin.
And Chapito being his nickname to all of us that are on the regular circuit.
Yeah, again, you see this line. Again, I call it kind of a gymnastics line. It's all downhill, all front end down the whole line.
And that jump that he just jumped is a Liverpool, in-ground Liverpool, that tends to be very spooky in this particular field. I don't know why that is, but it's traditionally been a very distracting kind of jump to the horses.
Yeah, for me, this is a tough double. I mean, he's got it set right out of the corner here. The approach is not great. But here, two in a row with clear jumping rounds. It seemed to be jumping this quite easily, I would say.
Yeah, and like Jim, you talked a little bit about the format. These riders having multiple rides have to use their horse that they're trying to qualify for the World Cup qualifier first. So you're seeing some of their better mounts early on with two initial clears.
Yeah, I think in the past, the rider with one horse maybe was at a disadvantage because that was his only shot and he had to qualify on that horse. Or maybe another rider came in here with two or three horses. Maybe the first two didn't go well, and their third horse did go well, and they qualified. So I find this a much more fair format. Here we have Vasco and Adam Prudent. Adam, son of Katie Prudent and Henri Prudent. Katie rode for the United States for a number of years, number of teams, won all over the world. Just a super rider, super trainer, and now she's sort of handed the reins over to Adam. I think she sort of stepped aside a little bit. She's doing a lot of the training, and Adam is now really trying to make a go with this, making a living at being a rider.
You know, this is quite a unique field, Jimmy. You've ridden on it many, many times. It's grass for starters, and it's grass with a lot of different grades in it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a very hilly field, and I think when you watch this class online or at home, you don't realize it looks like just a big, beautiful grass field, which it is, but there are definitely some undulating hills out here, and I think, as you said, Alan does a very good job of using the hills to his advantage. In saying that, the horses are jumping around here pretty easily so far.
Weather's been a little unkind here at Old Salem this week. We had quite a bit of rain last night. We gave the field a little rest. This is our first class in the field today, but the footing seems to be just about perfect.
Well, and so far we're 3 for 3. I think Alan might be getting a little nervous at this point, Frank.
Yeah, I think any course designer's a little nervous watching the first three go. When they go clear, he's probably even a little more nervous. But I think you'll see as the class goes on, things start to separate. I was talking to a few of the riders prior to the class today, and a lot of their concerns were when they were going today. I think they felt it was a little bit of advantage due to being on grass to go a little bit earlier before the track gets torn up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but we had a lot of rain last night. It rained all night, but I have to say they've made a very smart move. They moved the other classes over to the other rings. We have the luxury of that here at Old Salem Farm to have these all-weather rings. They move things around. And I have to say the field looks beautiful. So next in we have Contendrix and Andre Thieme from Germany. Andre just coming over recently, rode on the Nations Cup team for Germany, showed at Aachen just a few weeks ago, and came over to jump the $1 Million Grand Prix and then spend time here at the American Gold Cup. And I believe he's going to try to show at Central Park next week. But Andre, a very seasoned rider, has some very good horses, and just recently sold his top horse, so he's trying to get things in line again with these younger horses and get a top group of horses again.
Yeah, I believe this is Andre's first time here to the Gold Cup.
Andre, very short turn to this triple bar, I would say. This is a wide jump, a very, very, very short approach. But again, you saw even off the short approach, getting across the width was a non-issue. And again, I just think the hill really carries you across the back rail. He looks a little bit slow. He's cutting the turns, but he looks a little bit slow. Yeah, he's being very, very efficient with the turns, I'd say. Even though he looks a little slow. Oh, there's our first rail down.
Yeah, 12B just came down. Unfortunate for Andre.
The B element, the front rail of the B element of the Longines combination.
You know, I think off that short approach, he had to put a little more leg than he probably thought he did coming out over the auction. The horse just jumped into the front rail there. Jumped a nice round, but you know, hopefully that 4-fault round isn't going to keep him out of the big class on Sunday.
Now, Jimmy, this is a World Cup qualifier that we're going to see on Sunday. That qualifies them for what?
Well, it qualifies them for the World Cup Finals, big event. You know, for a number of years, the U.S. was on top. We won the World Cup Finals year after year back in the early 80s. And we went on a little bit of a dry spell there. We didn't have a winner for a long time, and now over the last few years, we've had Rich Fowler's won, BZ Madden won. You know, Rich was second. We've had a few in the hunt the last few years, so we're right back in the game there. But that's a big championship indoor event. Basically, it's the only indoor championship event.
So this will be an important Sunday class for our next rider, Kirsten Coe.
Yeah, Kirsten riding California 62. This is a horse that she rides for Alon Furter. Alon originally imported this horse and sold this to Debbie Dolan and Sagamore Farm, Debbie Dolan Sweeney. And just recently, Alon actually bought the horse back from them. He liked it so much he had to have it, and they ended up selling it back to him. I would say this is maybe the biggest test. This mare just recently stepped up to the big classes. Kirsten just came back, spending a little time in Europe. She rode on the team there. She was in Gijón and did this mare in the second classes over there.
Yeah, but this is relatively a show right in their backyard. Elon and Kirsten are just about 2 miles down the street at their farm, and they tell me how much they enjoy showing here at Old Salem.
Yeah, I think the move for the American Gold Cup here to Old Salem Farm was huge for them. The exhibitors love it here. It's nice that it found a home, and I think it found a home to stay. Every year it's better and better attended. So, you know, you run a good event and the exhibitors show up. Another beautiful round.
Beautiful clear.
Yeah, so early on we've seen 4 out of 5 jump a clear round here. Probably not what Alan's wanting to see, but and here we see next in another Alon Furter owned horse. This is Viva Columbia, ridden by Connor Swale. Connor represents Ireland. Just took over this ride, I would say late spring. Took over the ride after Florida. Had some very good results in Spruce Meadows this summer. Jumped a few classes in Canada, and then last week jumped a good round in the million in Saugerties, New York. I believe he ended up 5th there with a 4-fault round. This is a big jumper, very careful horse.
So is an exhibitor going later in this qualifier? I think people are already getting a little nervous that they're going to have to come home with a pretty good qualifying score.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you're waiting and you have a late spot, you're kind of almost thinking a 4-fault round might not get you in, and that's kind of the way it's looking at this point. You know, even the one round, the one horse that had the 4-fault round, you know, that was the one touch he had on the whole course. So far, there doesn't really seem to be a trouble spot on this course.
I think that's a sign of confidence with the course designer like Alan Wade. He doesn't look like he's trying to overface the horses in today's qualifier. I think he's going to let the class sort itself out and make sure that everyone's got still enough left in the tank for the big class on Sunday.
Yeah, I'd say Connor looks a little slow. The time obviously hasn't been a factor so far, but this is a little bit of a slow-going horse. Oh, got there a little early in the last 7.
Connor, it looks like he thought maybe he had lost a shoe.
Yeah, he's looking down.
Glancing down at his horse.
The mare maybe slipped a little bit off the ground at the last jump, and I think he was concerned maybe he lost his shoe there. So just under the time allowed, but now we have 5 out of our first 6 right into the jump off.
Now, Jimmy, it's not mandatory that you jump off if you're clear, as long as you're qualified for Sunday, unless you're trying to get a piece of the $85,000 in today's qualifying prize money.
Yeah, Frank, you know, the way the prize money has gotten lately, a lot of people skip the jump off in these big classes, which, you know, $85,000 is nothing to turn your nose up at, but, you know, they've got bigger fish to fry. As you said, they're trying to qualify for the World Cup Finals, $215,000 class on Sunday. And I think, it's just all going to depend on how many we have in the jump off at the end of this class. Next in, we have David Beisel riding Amaretto. Amaretto, most definitely the smallest horse in the class. I would say this horse is about 15 hands. Trotted the second jump. This horse jumped a beautiful round last week in the $1 million class at Saugerties. Horse looks a little bit unsure to me. Looks like it's slipping a little bit. I'm not sure if maybe the studs aren't big enough or what, but it looks a little bit unsure off the ground.
Wow, that was a great ride. I almost for a second thought he was going to try to do 6 to the double verticals.
This horse has a lot of heart. He gives David everything. David gives him a great ride. They know each other well. And the horse is such a trier.
Like there. Hard rub at the back rail of the Hermes, but stayed up. Kind of rubbing his way around this course.
Little stally there, but then has the front rail B element.
That double's riding a little long out of that tight turn.
Yeah, and again, we talked earlier. I think the placement of where he has that's not an accident. I think he has that there exactly for that reason, to make that ride just a little bit more difficult.
0.22, the time slower of our 2 4-fault efforts, and we'll continue now as we welcome in the representative of his nation of Colombia. Here's Roberto Turan and Marcos de Rosier Z.
Here we're going to see our Colombian rider, Roberto Turan, riding Arcos de Rosier Z. This is a horse that came from McLean Ward. McLean brought this horse over from Europe and actually sold this horse to Juan Ortiz. And then Juan Ortiz sold this horse to Roberto. This is a horse that Roberto's sort of bringing along. I think this is his next up-and-coming horse to jump the big leagues. His top horse right now, Oklahoma, is going to go jump the Nations Cup final in Barcelona.
So, Jimmy, I'm going to step out for a minute and hand the reins over to Mary for just a couple of minutes. And I'll be back. Jimmy and I are trying to commentate on and get our students in the right. Introduce Mary.
So, as Frank said, Frank's going to step away for a few minutes. I'm being joined here by Mary Manfredi. Mary runs a very successful show jumping operation with Peter Lutz, actually right down the road, very close to here. So, Mary, you've probably been watching this class so far. They're making it look quite easy out here.
They are, and at first I was thinking, I think we had a few really good ones to start, but I almost think the course could have maybe been a hole or two bigger.
Yeah, and
a lot in the class, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think Alan is probably thinking that also, the course designer. This is not normal that you see this many go clear. We've seen only 2 rails come down the whole class, and this is going to be a big jump off at the end of the day.
I think so too, because it's quite a big class. There are quite a few in it, so I think you get nervous when you're the course designer and you have this many clear this early on.
Next we have in Carabazee and Richie Maloney. Richie, one of the top Irish riders that came over. Now he's spending a lot of time in the U.S. He's basically made Wellington home. Has some great owners. Came over originally to ride under Shane Sweetnam, but now he's taken on a great position at Equanimity. They've got a great group of horses for him to ride, and Richie does a great job.
He really does. He's so competitive. Really nice guy, good rider. I think the horses seem so comfortable to me on the field. I don't know if it's after Southampton, or I think Alan works the field really beautifully, but I have seen other classes in this field in which the up and down plays a little bit more of an effect. I think that they're all jumping quite well. I thought this line was going to ride a little harder down the hill, 5, 6, 7, and they're all doing it quite nicely, I think.
Yeah, we actually spoke about that. My opinion on this line, I call this a very gymnastic-y line. It's basically, this is a very wide triple bar, but the whole line is sort of downhill. It's, sort of all front end. Even though it's a wide triple bar and a wide octa there, I think the hill really takes care of that. But,
yeah.
We spoke earlier, Alan knows his field well. He has built this particular show before. He builds here in May, so I think he's very, very comfortable in this ring.
I think so, too.
And like you said, all of these horses are coming fresh off the Hampton Classic, also on a very similar type field. So I think they're coming in here very comfortable, just jumping on grass a couple weeks ago.
Absolutely.
So after Richie goes, as Frank had to step away, I think I'm going to step away also. Mary's going to be joined here by Eric Hasbrook. Eric, longtime show jumper, represented the United States at the WAG back in the day. Eric, also from just down the road, runs a very successful show jumping operation. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Eric and Mary.
Hi, Eric. We're playing musical chairs over here. Good. How are you? Quite a few clear. The next one we have in the ring is Catherine Tyree on her horse Enjoy Louis.
Great, yeah. Catherine's one of our top young riders in the country, especially on the East Coast, doing very, very well. I think she has 2 horses in today, correct? Yeah.
I believe so.
And be a very good experience for her to jump around here, especially on this field. Like we've been talking about, the field, as we all know, really is an added element here at Old Salem Farm. I'm lucky enough to know it growing up here, but it's it plays tricks on you and it plays tricks on the horses.
It does. I think we're really fortunate to still have this field. There aren't a lot of fields left unless you go to Spruce Meadows. Luckily, we still have the Hampton Classic. But this is a great venue to show at.
Absolutely, and for all the reasons that you guys have been talking about, again, Alan, one of the top guys in the world, is doing a beautiful job. But the hill in itself just really makes this a whole lot trickier, and you just really have to be on your toes out here, as you know, I'm sure. Catherine's going well so far.
Yeah, I think it's. I think that we've been used to the time allowed. As riders, the time allowed has gotten tighter and tighter over the years, and I think it's fun to watch how we haven't seen any time faults. The riders come in, pick up the gallop, and they're really galloping around the field.
Yeah, again, right from the beginning, it's really a big part of the sport now, even more than it used to be. You pretty much know, especially in these bigger FEI competitions, the time allowed is always tight. It's just a matter of how much. So that's built in into your plan right from the beginning, and it's also over the last years, especially, it's also determined sometimes what kind of horses we buy because they really things come up so much quicker. And we're forced to. It's just part of life that the horses have to be that much more rideable and careful.
Yeah.
Scoring 4
That's a really good point.
On the track of 4 fault effort for Catherine Tyree and Joy Lewis.
That's the first time we've seen 6B come down. I think that will come down a little bit. I think that's what we were just talking about, the element of the careful verticals down the hill.
Correct. I'm surprised if that is the first time it's down. I'm surprised, actually, because the distance from the triple bar there is what we'll call a smooth or a juicy 5 strides. It's right on, and it's really, a lot of situations the riders would love to add a stride to that, but it's really not possible, and you just have to, it's very technical.
I don't know this horse.
I don't know the horse so well, but Vanessa's another top young rider from Calgary. Been on the circuit now 2 or 3 years at least. Rides with one of the greatest, the best riders, Connor Swale. Again, really doing a nice job. And she's fortunate enough to have Spruce Meadows in Calgary in her backyard, so she jumps on a lot of grass fields. But I think this one probably has even more of a tilt or a slope to it than some of those.
Yes.
But putting all that aside, the conditions today are really ideal. The weather's not too hot, footing's good. It's really a nice day for jumping here in Westchester County.
It is, and they've done a lot of work with this field because it rained all night last night, and the field is quite nice today.
Yeah, you see their fence 7 down. Again, that line down the hill. If you're not real careful in balancing your horse, it's easy to get a little too close to number 7 there.
This might be the first time fall round we see too. I think she's efficient with the track, but the canter is a little slow on this horse. I'm curious to see if she's under or over the time allowed, although she has been quite neat everywhere.
She does look a little bit slow. And the last fence down.
And down the hill again.
When I walked the course, I predicted the last fence there would probably, we call it the bogey jump of the course. It's a tall vertical, it's down the hill, it's off a half stride, and it's a skinny fence. So putting those things together, besides that, it's easy. But again, I think for Vanessa, that was a very good round.
I think so, too.
I don't know if that'll get in, they're all trying to qualify or not, but still, just little things. Katie is from right down the road here, her farm in North Salem, so another local here that's nice to see her here showing. I know she's spending a lot of time in Europe these days, getting even more experience, but it's, again, real nice to see her here.
This is a lovely horse. This one was formerly shown by Shane Sweetman, and it's lovely.
And again, Catherine would know this field pretty well, even though she's young, so looking for a nice round from her. We get a very good view of this line today, don't we? Sitting here right in front of us, the gymnastic part of the course. Interestingly, the Liverpool there is jumping, not jumping easy, but it's jumping a little easier than normal.
I agree. We haven't really seen anyone stuttering off the ground. The horses have been really comfortable with that Liverpool, and that sometimes.
Well, this one in particular, it's what we call, it's an old-fashioned real one. It's an actual Liverpool that's built into the ground, which we don't see a lot these days. We jump a lot of rubber ones that are on the ground, and sometimes they dig them in certain places, but this is really, really different, and that's why sometimes it creates a lot more faults or even horses that will spook at it. But I think
it
again,
hasn't been an issue in this class, which is
it's jumping pretty nice. And again, I think part of it is the credit to the team here at Old Salem Farm. They've done such a beautiful job preparing this field that it's very level and the footing is very good.
Yeah.
He is now on Shaki Z, the 9-year-old stallion by Shaka Blue, owned by the Spy Coast Farms out of East Setauket, New York.
Shane Sweetenham, one of the top Irish riders that spends a lot of time in America here throughout the year. He's always doing well, has a very good string of horses. Always good to watch, and always very competitive.
He's always competitive. He had a great Hamptons. I think won the meter 40 here the first day in the national division.
Yes, he did. That's right.
He's fast. He always gives it a shot when he's in the jump off.
Is this a new horse? I don't know this horse.
I don't know this horse either.
Must be one of the younger horses in his string.
He had it at the Hamptons, but I don't know how long he's had it. I think the way the sport is now, it's really such an advantage when you have a whole string, especially when you're coming off of the Hamptons and the Million and this week. It's such an advantage to have more than one.
Yes, there's a big event pretty much every week now, so having a fresh horse as often as possible is a big benefit for everybody. Shane's going well.
They're actually all jumping the Liverpool really well. They don't always jump that well.
No,
Today they're jumping that Liverpool really well.
Exactly. We said that before a few minutes ago, but it's really, for those of us who have had many faults there ourselves over the years.
Exactly. We're all reliving the four faults
Rain or
we've
shine,
all had at that jump.
We're wondering what the difference is here today.
It's true.
No, it's the quality riders, quality horses, and all of the above. It's just...
12B just came down. I think that one's going to come down often. I think it's very square. I think you have to really trust your scope and make sure you don't start riding deep before you leave the ground. I think we'll see that come down again.
Correct. I thought the same walking, that would be one of the fences that would come down more often. When we say a square oxer, for those that don't know, that means that the front pole is basically the same level as the back pole, and so it's hard to see. And that's what makes that jump, one of the things that makes that jump more difficult.
Challenge, I agree. And it's right off the turn, so that's one of those that you have to just sit tight off the ground and then squeeze across. And sometimes it's easier said than done.
Exactly. If we push too hard, you have the front rail, and then if we don't push hard enough, then sometimes they won't make it to the back. So just one more of the questions that these top course designers ask all the time. And now we have Kristen.
Kristen's in the ring now. Bull Runs Testify. This horse, I think it just had the second jump down. I was just going to say, it jumped really well in the Million last week. I had never watched it before, and last week was a very big course, and it did it quite well. it could be tired today.
Well,
too,
exactly.
from
Yeah.
last week.
Sometimes horses they either can be tired, or sometimes when they put in a maximum effort, which the million was, very close, if not, to to the highest Olympic level, then sometimes they just have a bit of a letdown afterwards. They try so hard that you just don't know sometimes. Yeah, he definitely
He looks
definitely is
tired.
looking a little tired today. I don't know the horse that well, but
Neither do I, but he does. He looks tired. He's just jumping a little too low.
and unfortunately sometimes we don't know that until we get there. We try to schedule our horses to where we can jump the bigger competitions and have fresh horses, but they can't talk to you, so sometimes we just
Chris will finish up with,
don't know until we get there,
Yeah.
like a day like today, so too bad for Kristen.
They will drop 6 rails on the course, 81-46 their time. Kim Prince joining us now.
Kim Prince next in the ring. It's fun to see her showing again in the big classes.
Absolutely. You took the words right out of my mouth. Kim's been around a long time, a great professional, top rider, has a lot of clients, and I agree. It's really nice to see her in the big ring here again.
And it's, I think the team at Rushing Marsh is really into the sport, and I think it's lovely when you have barns like that having horses for the professional that's helping them. I think that's just good for the sport and fun to watch Kim, as we said.
Absolutely. I don't know this horse either, but knowing Kim, I'm sure it will be good.
Yeah. Oh, a little. Looks like she got there a little sooner than she thought.
Yeah, maybe overcompensated there for the hill just a bit. You have to ride forward. I think most people are doing 8 strides there.
Yes.
And it looks like the horse just, for some one reason or the other, got his eye off the fence, maybe when she was trying to steady there. Mary, I'm going to have to go leave you for a minute or two, so either I'll be back or Frank or Jimmy. So
Perfect. Good luck.
okay.
I don't know if this is a new ride for Kim. I think it feels like she's getting to know it a little bit. It's not as smooth around as we normally see her have.
$16 jumping, 3 on the clock. It's a 19-fault total for Kimberly Prince and RMF Vela Balube.
And the next horse we're going to see in the ring is Lubov, Kachetova, and Byron. This is a 9-year-old. It's lovely. 9 is still relatively on the younger side. It's just a lovely type. Lubov sometimes, she's actually always on a nice horse. I think she's a very strong rider and has gotten really comfortable with the time allowed. So hopefully if it jumps well, she keeps the gallop and is within the time allowed. Just got a little low there. That was too bad. I think that we had a really lovely group of horse and riders at the beginning of the class, and I do think we're going to have quite a few clear today. But when you have top horses and top riders go early, the course looks a little easier than one would think. But as the class goes on, we're seeing the subtleties of the course, and we're not having as many clean rounds.
Scoring 4 for Lubov as they take down the B element of the combination here at the top end of our arena.
Next we have in the ring Maggie McAlery. I'm not familiar with this horse either. Double H owned horse. Maggie's also one of our top up and coming riders. It's really lovely to see her showing. She rides quite well, and I think Double H is another one of those farms that is so good for the sport because they love it, and it's nice for someone who rides as well as Maggie to be cantering around in these classes. There comes the second jump again. You know, the second jump is quite tall. The first jump is really inviting, and then the second jump is significantly taller, and I thought the horse just jumped that a little low. That was beautiful. And again, last jump down the hill. They get a little bit rushing.
Two fences on the track. It is an 8-fault total for Maggie McAlery and H.H. Sitzky Vanovas.
Now we see Molly Ashkali and Cat Blue. This is an 8-year-old Lewisburg farm owned.
Is next to go, rider representing Lewisburg Farms, the owner of her mount, Cat Blue, the 8-year-old gelding by Cassini 2.
I'm going to check my list. I don't know how many 8-year-olds we have in the class. Not many, if any others. 8 is they're just starting to do it at this level. Molly rides so well. This horse jumps really well for her.
And four falters as well, rounding out the 12 placing positions at this point in our standings.
Nice. She did the 9 there. That worked out really well for her. This is a big moving horse that covers a lot of ground. That really helped her jump B well. Same thing at the Liverpool. She really got to the Liverpool. That was perfectly ridden, that line for this horse. We've got Frank back with us.
Sorry left you on your own, Mary.
That's
but it's
okay.
been a little bit of a juggling act here for all of us today. One of the busier days here at the Gold Cup.
Especially on a young horse. after that the orange Hermes, she did a really nice job regrouping. I think sometimes with the young ones, the concentration, holding their concentration, you have to find a place to let them regroup. And she so subtly did that so well. And a nice clear round.
So, Mary, how's it shaping up? How many clear have we got so far, roughly?
Roughly, we're going to hear the announcement. I think we have 8 or 9 already. I think it was interesting. 9 clear. So there are 9 clear. I think that we saw a very nice group of horses and riders early on. And I still think there are going to be quite a few clear. But it's interesting as the class goes on where the jumps that we thought were going to come down are starting to come down. I don't know this horse very well. I don't go to a lot of the same horse shows as Tracy, but she's always in the results. I think she's a very competitive rider.
Yeah, this is Tracy Finney, who works with Mike McCormick. I know they were here last year. They quite enjoyed the Gold Cup. They were in Socrates last week for the $1 million.
Was well done. Well ridden horse, jumped it really nicely.
So Tracy's our 19th in the ring with 9 clears so far. Mary, what do you think? It's probably going to take at least a good 4-fault round to get a spot in that 40 horse field for our Sunday Grand Prix.
I would agree with you.
And I don't know how you feel, but I kind of like when a course designer doesn't overtax the horses and riders in the qualifying class like this and leaves a little bit left in the tank for the big class on Sunday.
I think so too, because we're certainly not going to... I think for anyone who has a horse that's older and more experienced and a little slower and runs out of gas, you might opt not to jump off. But I think that this is a course that isn't drying up the well early on in the week.
So it looks like we have our 10th clear with Tracy Finney.
List to return for our Gold Cup qualifier presented by Windsor Show Stables. Judy Torres is in next on Quattro Queen, number 854, the 11-year-old mare by Quattro B.
Next in the ring, we have Quattro Queen, ridden by Judy Garofalo.
Quattro Queen and Judy Garofalo Torres.
Judy's a regular here at Old Salem Spring Shows and also the Gold Cup.
I think she won a nice FEI world ranking class on this horse last week at Socrates. She's done a really nice job with this horse. It's little. It's sort of my type. I love this type. Little. She's taken her time with it and done a really good job.
Now, I know you were sitting here just a few minutes ago with Eric Hasbrook, who was a former winner of the Gold Cup. It was not here at Old Salem when he won. It was at the Devon Horse Show grounds. I know that was one of Eric's more passionate wins in his career. I don't know if he reflected on that at all when he was here with you.
He didn't, and that's a nice point that you bring up. I think there's certain horse shows, certain Grand Prix that you feel really honored to win, and I think the Gold Cup is one of them.
Yeah, Eric and I have been friends for years, and I know just in conversation that was a big one for him. And unfortunately for Judy today, she's working on 8.
She's working on 8 faults. I thought the first jump, I think that was where up the hill caught her a little bit. She was there a little deep and maybe needed to cross it. And the other one that came down was also maybe a little deep.
And Mary, like you had mentioned, this is a horse Judy's bringing along slowly. It's a little bit green, and you can have a green horse in one of our more conventional rings. When I say conventional ring, it's a sand ring, a little bit of an artificial surface. We describe it as in this day of the sport. And then you put that same horse on a field like this today, and all of a sudden they lose about 6 months to a year of experience.
It's true, and I think that as riders of these horses too, you want to get to know them on the field a little, how much pressure up the field, how much support down the hill. So I think that's what caught Judy a little bit.
Okay, next in the ring we have Calvin Klein, ridden by Jonathan Miller, son of the world-famous Canadian rider Ian Miller, who is in Calgary at the Masters this weekend. But we're happy to have Jonathan here with a nice crew supporting the American Gold Cup. You know, that fence too,
It's tall.
It's tall, and it's going directly towards a pond that we draw a lot of the irrigation from to keep our field hydrated. And it gets a little spooky to some of the horses. It hasn't been very problematic today, but yesterday it seemed to be a little bit of a distraction.
Yes, I would absolutely agree.
I know event organizer Michael Morrissey of Stadium Jumping is very, very proud for this American Gold Cup to be part of the Longines program sponsorship and to be part of the FEI World Cup qualifying. So he takes great pride in presenting that event here at Old Salem.
And we are so lucky as exhibitors to have a horse show venue and a horse show management team that gives us such a special place to show at. 12B came down again. 12B is definitely one of those jumps that we're going to see come down often. Sorry, Frank.
When I walked the course, I thought 12A was going to be a little bit of a problem, and it looks to me like everyone's a little concerned about 12A, and it's making 12B become a little bit collateral damage.
Yeah.
So next in the ring we have Kidam Blue, ridden by another Canadian rider, Jill Henselwood.
Jill's a great rider. She's one of my favorites. I got to know her quite well when I was training out in California, and she spends the winter doing thermal. Really competitive, really nice. Second jump came down. I think the second jump again, all the reasons why we just discussed. I think the first jump is very inviting, not that big. I think the second jump is really tall, a little bit down the slope, going into the pond.
Jill currently working on 12 faults. I think at this stage it's a little bit of a relief for course designer Alan Wade to see some different jumps starting to come down with so many early cleans in our today's $85,000 American Gold Cup qualifier.
That's the first time we've seen a horse really look and stall and stutter off the ground at that Liverpool. I think this horse looks a little bit green to me. I think Alan also does a wonderful job, because you watch a horse that needs experience and is a little green, but you always want to see them sort of ready for the next class and taking away a nice experience, and I think that's another mark of a really good horse designer.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. You can see here with Jill's young horse, the horse started out a little green. The course didn't really beat the horse's confidence up too much, and actually finished a course jumping in great style. So I think that's a great sign, like you mentioned. So this is Kiva de Songzi, ridden by Heather Caristo Williams. This is a rider we've basically seen grow up since she's been in a stroller, and it's great to see her at the 2015 Gold Cup here.
Heather won the meter 40 FEI the other day, and also won a class last week. She's had a great tour, a great summer in Europe, was really competitive over there with the U.S. team, and it's always nice to see people who you like, who ride well, who are nice, having success.
Yeah, this, oh my goodness, such scope over fence 3. It really jumped
this
Heather
one's-
loose
Oh,
and just ended up unseating her into a position of riding a little backwards
up the hill.
up the hill, which, yeah, but Heather's a scrapper. She's a fighter, and she's hanging tough, and unfortunately,
Just sort of dragged her down the hill there. Same thing again, its balance just gets a little downhill.
yeah, it looks like Heather's going to retire. I think it was pretty obvious to her at this point she was not going to make it into Sunday's World Cup qualifier, and chose to save her horse. Her horse looked particularly sharp out there in the beginning, and then maybe as it got sharp, it started to lose its rideability.
Yeah, and I think that's a big difference of what we just saw with Jill's horse and what we just saw with Heather's horse. Was Jill's horse just kept going and getting a little bit better, and this one, it's not a great feeling when they're jumping too high yet pulling you under the jumps.
Yeah, and especially with the little bit downhill grade, I know that's very problematic in this particular field. We'll talk about that a little bit later, Mary, what that feels like going down to a meter 60 jump when you think you see your distance, and all of a sudden it's this kind of sucking feeling, and it's not a
You
it's
get
not
there
a
a little
pleasant
deeper
feeling.
than you would have liked, and that's when you love to be riding the super horse, because then you feel like you can get away with it and still keep the jump up.
So next in the ring, in our 24th spot, we have Binky with David Blake. David had some nice success in the Tryon
Yes.
circuit this summer. When I walked the course earlier, I spent a few minutes with David. He was thinking possibly doing 6 strides to the last jump from 12B to 13. He'll see what happens. This horse has a very big stride, can be a little aggressive. You could hear David from our viewpoint really trying to get his horse to settle on the very careful fence 6A. Yeah, and he stuck to his guns. He did the 6 and did it
and
successfully.
it worked out well for him.
Another clear round. I think that brings us up to a total of 11.
Our third average rider to qualify for the jump off, fall free ride from David Blake and Binky, and we are up to 11 clear at this point. Next in here is
That's the first time we've seen the 6 down the hill, and definitely when you walked it, if it was in a jump off, you know you'd end up doing 6. That's when you really need to know your horse. I think I prefer the 7, but the 6 worked out really well for him.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's, you know, when you start coming to these venues year after year after year, and you start to know the tendencies on how they affect a horse's stride, that is not out of the realm of reality doing 6 like we just saw with David. So good for him. Next, we have our sponsor of today's class, riding Win for Life. This is Christina McCrae, riding for the Windsor Show Stables. you know, I just so much enjoy watching these super scopy, athletic, brave, careful jumpers. I could watch this all day long. So there's Christine's first jump down at 6A. She can't give up right now with the way today's class is going.
No, it is a qualifier, and that she had another one down the verticals. It just maybe a little more room there. It didn't jump up there. When it's a qualifier, you don't want to give up. You want to keep going and see how it plays out.
Again, we have 62 in today's field. They're riding for 40 spots for our Sunday's World Cup qualifier. That's unfortunate 12 for Christine.
It's a 12 fault total for Christine McRae and win for life. A total of 12.
So now really for Christine, it's going to be a waiting game just to see how this pretty much
Yes.
second, we're almost to the halfway point with 11 clear, so I don't know if
I don't
she's
know
on the
about
bubble.
that.
We'll just
And
have
I'm
to.
checking the list to see if she has another horse later on in the class, and she does not.
CMJ Sport Horses LLC, Flaming Star, and Charlie Jacobs.
So Jimmy and I were talking earlier about what the new rule is in these qualifying classes. Your horse that's going to go to the World Cup class, you have to do as your
it
first horse. So that's unfortunate for Christine. Next is Flaming Star, ridden by Charlie Jacobs.
I know that there's different opinions on the amount of riders that our shows here in the U.S. take for an FEI event, and I quite like the system here in the U.S. It's quite different in Europe. They don't take as many. I think over 100 horses jogged FEI this week, and you wouldn't see that in Europe. It's a smaller group of riders, but I think that since we don't have as many FEI shows, it's harder to be high up on the world rankings. And I think that it's for a lot of our young riders too. I think it's a really nice experience for them to be able to go and then do the qualifier and then see if they come into Sunday. But I know not everyone feels the same way as I do about that.
Especially in Florida, where we have so many
know.
South Americans and Europeans. You see as many as 110,
100 left.
which they do now split at 100, which makes it a little nicer to follow. I love the idea of having 40 on Sunday. I think that's a nice.
Me too. I think it's a good number. I think for these important classes, it's nice to be able to qualify. Oh, there he arrived at 12A just a little deep and didn't have enough to be able to get over B.
It's looking like the four falters are going to be getting back, so I think Charlie's got to feel good about that.
I think so too.
But clearly 12B is our most regular jump coming down today. Next in the ring is our 27th rider. This is Xander, ridden by Beat Manley. Beat works for the Dinans down the road at Grant Road Partners.
Beat's a beautiful rider.
Yeah, Manley, Switzerland is aboard the Grant Road Partners entry Xander, the 11-year-old gelding by Quintos.
Yeah, one of the Swiss riders now residing in the United States, working directly with Katie Dinan in her operation. Wow, there it looked like the footing gave up just a little
It
bit.
did. That's the first time from our seats because we are right in front of that jump, and that is the first time that I saw the footing. But now we're 27 into the class, so a lot of horses have cantered over that. I'm sure they're going to take are they taking a midway break to work the footing a little bit or pound?
I have not been informed about that, but it really didn't affect Xander at all.
No.
Unfortunately, 4
B
faults
again.
at 12B again.
You know, 12A is really right off the turn. It's very careful in, and it's hard when you have to squeeze out. They just jumped into that front rail.
So that was a total of 8 faults down that final line. 12B and 13 coming down. Okay, next in the ring is our 28th in the order. This is Verde, ridden by Andres Rodriguez. He's had a great year this year, huh?
Yeah, really great year. Just was individual silver for Venezuela at the Pan Am Games, qualified for the Olympics now.
Newly engaged.
Newly engaged.
So he's in a great spot right now.
He's been working with Eddie Mackin, and Eddie is, as I love Eddie. I think Eddie's great. I've worked with him in the past, and I think Andres is riding really well.
But I was just talking about Eddie the other day and how he's kind of reinvented himself a little bit. And, I remember as a kid, my introduction to this level of show jumping was at Madison Square Garden. It was in the mid to early 70s, and Eddie Mackin was competing there, and he became my instant role model, idol, hero, whatever you want to call it. Still rides, does not compete, but does an incredible job training these riders.
I think so too. I think that Eddie has been in the sport for so long, and I think in addition to the knowledge that he brings to the table, his enthusiasm is still, as a trainer, it's incredible. He's always out there working really hard, riding the horses, and it's nice when you have someone on your team who's still that into it. It's inspiring.
Fortunately, there's a second rail down at 12B.
On the last jump.
13, that's unfortunate, 12 faults.
Yeah.
Not going to be happy with that, and he's going to be maybe on the bubble there. Who's the lucky girl? Clementine Goutal.
Clementine Goutal, exactly. Everyone who knows Clementine loves her. Andres we will see on Sunday, though. He went second in the class and was clear, so he's in on Sunday. Although probably disappointed with the last horse, but definitely in on Sunday, and we'll see him for the jump off.
Next in the ring is Ramona de Flebeck, ridden by Andre Taimi from Germany. This is his second
This
ride,
is his second
like you just
ride.
mentioned.
He had, I believe, one down on his last horse.
So this horse, even if he goes clear, he would not be able to do in the World Cup class on Sunday.
You are correct.
So he's competing for the $85,000 in prize money right now. So in a funny way, there's a little less pressure on this second ride.
It's true.
I think, Mary, our sport has just exploded over the last 5 years. We have so many high-profile events. Last week we had the $1 million event in Socrates. Next week we have a very prestigious event in Central Park.
Yes.
We have the Gold Cup this week. This very weekend we have a $1.5 million class up at the Masters in Spruce Meadows. And not only has the amount of prize money exploded, the amount of participation and enthusiasm And people just seem to be drawn to this sports lifestyle. Would you agree?
I would agree. And I think we see really high numbers. That was too bad. That's the first time we've seen the Liverpool come down. I think we see a lot of numbers in the Grand Prix, and as you know, we're both at the other rings as well, and I think there's been an explosion in the amateurs too. And
Yeah.
I would say that this is a great sport, and I think that there are a lot of people enjoying it.
The 4 obstacles on the course, say 16 faults total.
So that was one of our higher fault rounds of 16. But at least we'll be seeing Andre in our Sunday's World Cup qualifying class, which will be an important class for him in his hopes to try to go to the World Cup finals in April.
Frank, I'm going to say goodbye to you, and Eric's going to meet you. We've got Peter going pretty soon enough.
Well, Mary, good luck, and you did it. Thanks so much. We'll see you later.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, Eric, how are you? Welcome back. A little bit of a juggling act today, but we will get this broadcast done and hope everyone enjoys watching. Currently, we're watching our 30th round, Cannavara, ridden by Amanda Derbyshire from Great Britain.
Okay. I don't know this rider, but
well, Amanda, she's been here. She dates rider David Blake that we saw earlier. She works for the Gotchman family, who's been a big sponsor here at the American Gold Cup and our spring shows. Amanda's a young rider, very accurate, very strong girl when it comes to riding. Currently working on 4 faults.
yeah,
Fortunate 8 there.
8 there.
I'm talked for a minute with Mary about your win at the American Gold Cup, Eric. What year was that?
Well, that was 1992.
And that was held at the Devon Showgrounds back then?
Yes. Yeah, I think it was at Devon for 22, 23 years, which was really nice because the crowd there knew the people and knew the horses and kind of a horse community. But now it's been really nice to bring it here. Not only because it's our backyard, it's just such a lovely facility here and beautiful place to show jump.
So Amanda Derbyshire had an unfortunate 2 rails, plus what might be even more unfortunate, a one-time fault, total of 9. And that could keep her out of Sunday's class, that one-time fault.
Correct. The top 40 will be obviously the clear rounds, and then those with just 4 faults, or maybe a lot of times some of the 8 faulters will make it in, but normally that time fault that'll be just too much.
So next in the ring is our 31st rider, Damasu, ridden by Lucas Porter, part of Team Sleepy P. Lucas is still competing in the junior ranks. Really made a big step up, showing in some of the Grand Prix now, and hopefully we'll see him in Sunday's World Cup qualifier.
Yeah, the 2 boys have really, for being such young riders, have really done a lot for themselves at an early age. Been out there a lot, competing on the circuit. Really have come a long way. I think Lucas won the Grand Prix when I designed the courses in Palm Beach in a very fast jump off, so the young kids are doing well. I think here comes Lucas.
Welcome in our next entry to show, as we'll see Lucas Porter and Damasu. Lucas was the individual champion at the North American Junior Championships at the competition last summer in Lexington, Kentucky. For the Sleepy P Ranch entry, Damasu.
So Frank, how many clear rounds do we have so far? I was away for a bit.
Yeah, I believe we're up to 11 or 12, Eric.
Okay.
You know, the beginning of the class with some of the better horses and riders, I think, going early because of the format we have, made it look a little easy, and horses beginning to take its toll. Clearly, fence 12B has been the most problematic jump of the day.
And 4 faults for Lucas there. Yeah, I think we just discussed earlier. The last line, the last couple of fences were probably the most problematic of the course. Frank, we were also saying earlier when you were away how nicely they were all jumping the natural Liverpool here, which we've all, and sometimes has caused a few rails and caused some horses to take a peek at it, but they seem to be jumping that very well today.
Yeah, we were discussing with the team here at Old Salem of possibly removing that permanent fixture just to open up that part of the field, put a little more additional drainage in, and make it a little more user-friendly for our future horse designers. So Lucas Porter unfortunately had 8 faults on Damasu. That might squeak him in.
It might. It'll come down to the times, but didn't catch his time. But and okay, this is Pablo Barrios on Antares. Pablo, a veteran rider, been on the circuit a long time. You can always count on Pablo. Give it his best shot.
Yeah, Pablo riding from Venezuela. Runs his business based in Wellington, Florida. You know, it's been interesting. I would say up until the last few years, traditionally, this has been a little bit of a dead time of year. You know, we had Southampton, which was a highlight to the end of the summer. And then we have traditionally had the Gold Cup, which we're watching now. But then it was relatively quiet. And now we have so much late summer, early fall. We had the Million last week. We've got the Gold Cup this week. Central Park next week. We've got
the New Albany, I believe, in
Albany
Ohio,
Classic,
which was a wonderful event. Yeah, we were saying that also earlier. There's so many competitions now, and they're good ones pretty much every weekend if you want to go. So it's really nice to have that much good sport around.
It's nice to be getting text messages from some of our friends around the world saying that they're watching our live stream.
Once
So
again,
glad to
12B.
hear that.
Yeah. Okay.
12B down once again as the beyond that Longines combination takes another victim. This is a 4-fault scoring 80.83.
You know, that's where Alan Wade is so clever on his jump placement. And he makes it a real interesting test for horse and rider, but you never really end up seeing a train wreck out there. You know, usually the horses are always leaving the ring looking as though they're willing to come back and try again, which I think is real important.
Absolutely. Again, Alan's one of the best in the world, and all his courses and his tracks are normally very, very smooth. It's not that they look or appear easy, but it's cantering gymnastics. It really doesn't defeat the horses or anything like that. Exactly, Frank.
Next in the ring is Special Lux with Jonathan McCrae, part of our presenting sponsor team, the Windsor Show Stables. Unfortunately, his wife Christine didn't have a lot of success earlier, so I know Jonathan's going to fight for a spot on Sunday with this round. He just cleared the meter 95 triple barb.
Okay, 6A down, unfortunately. But again, these riders know that if they have an early fence down in the course, for sure they'd much rather be clear, but they are also trying to qualify for the weekend, so they're still giving it their best.
And there you saw Jonathan's horse really take a hard look at the built-in Liverpool and kind of hung up in the air and landed on the back rail of the Oxer.
Another one down at the other Liverpool.
Ended up with 16 faults. That's an unfortunate 16. That last rail might have really sealed his fate for not being back on Sunday.
Yes, more than likely for sure.
12 the total, 12 faults and 79-22.
Okay, and next in the ring we have Richie Maloney, another one of our Irish riders that has made home here in America most of the time and has a lovely string of horses.
What's been really interesting for me to watch throughout my career is to see how similar the style of riding has become throughout the world.
Absolutely. More and more. Whereas years ago, it was a lot easier to tell, some of the different styles from the different countries, with Germany, America, all that kind of thing. But it's very universal now, and I think some of it, Frank, has to do with the fact that the horses we're riding similar horses a little bit more often. I think years ago we, in general, grew up on thoroughbreds, which were hotter and I guess more sensitive than the bigger German horses of that era, and now it's a little more universal in the horse types.
Well, and I also think people have realized what the common denominators are and what makes a successful partnership in the sport with the careful materials we have today. The model of horses, a little bit of a lighter model than we saw maybe in the 80s.
Correct.
And the need to ride in a nice forward seat is a necessity. I think the time allowed is so quick, and it just created a very universal style for our sport.
I think also the things you were mentioning, the material is a lot lighter now, and with the time allowed, as we were talking about earlier, you have to be smoother. I mean, then again, that's what's helped, I think, make some of the styles even more similar.
12 on the course, 2
and 12 for Richie.
It is a 14 fault total for Richie and Colby, number 1.
Yeah, it is always interesting. As you were saying, the first few horses went in the ring. I think the first 3 were clear. Almost made it look like it was semi-easy, which we know it's not, and now it's really leveling itself out as we go through the field here. In the ring now we have Quentin Judge on H.H. Couture. He works out of the Double H farm, and their farm is not too far from here, just across the border in Connecticut.
Yeah, originally Quentin was not going to be here in attendance at the Gold Cup. And they had a few horses go lame and a couple changes of plan, and we really welcome them back here at the Gold Cup.
Absolutely. They've been great supporters of the sport for a long time and have some lovely horses. It's always good to see them out here.
Their number 1 rider, McLean Ward, is currently in Calgary at the Masters competing. Unfortunately, he had fence 5 down, or fence 4 down, sorry.
This is a lovely Scopy horse.
I think Quentin really loves this field. They're always strong in attendance here during our May show. always in the top ribbons. I think last year he won our speed derby. Come on, Quentin, keep it to 4. By this time, he knows this is a difficult double. And rode it perfect.
Exactly, rode it very well. Made sure he jumped 12B clear and clear at the
Beautiful.
last. Great round for Quentin.
77-71 the time. It'll be an 8-12 total for Quentin Judge and H.H. Quantor.
I didn't see I saw the 1 come down. I didn't see the second come down.
Yeah, I'm on the same. Sorry about that.
So total of 8 faults.
And now we have Leslie Howard. Again, Leslie's a veteran of the sport. Been around a long time. Olympic Games, World Championships, you name it, she's done it. Won the World Cup finals. Also not too far from here. Leslie, one of the toughest and fiercest competitor that this sport has ever known.
Well, we've been longtime friends of Leslie and her husband, Peter Howard. All of us, along with my brother John Abizi, were involved with the Syracuse Invitational Horse Show. You know, Leslie is known for her riding, but she's worn several different hats in the sport, which I really respect people for doing that. Fortunate. Front rail of the Square Oxer down.
Yes, Leslie's always has a nice group of clients, does quite a bit of teaching, and really puts her heart and soul into everything that she does.
In constant pain, needing a hip replacement, and finally got it. She started riding in Palm Beach this last week. This morning I said, Leslie, how are you feeling? She goes, like a new person, no pain, totally comfortable.
Yes. Again, very nice to see, and we're sure that Leslie will be out here for a long time to come. An unfortunate 4 at 12A. Again, that last line is really taking its toll, Frank.
Total of 8 faults on the course.
8 faults, but I think we're going to see her back with an 8-fault round. With the way things are shaping up in the beginning of our class, with so many clear, I didn't know if it was going to take 4 or better. But with the way this second half of our field is starting to shape up, it looks as though an 8-fault round could get you back.
Next in the ring, we have Kristen Coe on warrant, a 12-year-old stallion owned by Alain Federer. Kristen has a nice string of horses. I don't know this particular horse, Frank, but it's off to a good start.
Yeah, and I believe this is her second mount for the day. So this will not be a score going towards Sunday's qualifying seat. But I'm sure she's quite hungry to get a piece of the $85,000 worth of prize money in today's qualifying class. Starting out great, horses jumping in beautiful form.
Was she a little slow there, maybe, or not? Oh, unfortunately, the Liverpool that I spoke about earlier is now making a liar out of me.
You know, over the years being here at Old Salem, comparing the Liverpool that we have in today's class and the water jump that's in this field, the water jump has always been a much easier to jump. The Liverpool always makes horses green up.
I think partially it's because it's over there underneath that tree. Again, one of the beauties of this fantastic field that we have here, it's just there's so many things that that can distract the horses a little bit, and that kind of thing. So again, it's just such good experience to jump out on this field.
So there's another 9-fault round.
Another one of our top riders, Candace King, next in the ring on Bucati, VDL. Again, Candace, a veteran of the sport, many wins internationally and nationally.
You know, tomorrow afternoon, in conjunction with our Gold Cup, we have the Zone 2 Maclay Regionals being held here at the old Salem farm. And I was in the indoor ring reminiscing a little bit with Candace about some of her trials and tribulations in the equitation division while under our tutelage in the mid-'80s, and we had some nice chuckles like, oh, that's a shame for Candace.
Yes, and in the regionals, it's a really important event for the young and up-and-coming riders all over America. This particular one on the East Coast. This is a qualifier for the finals, for the Maclay finals
At the National Horse Show.
At the National Horse Show, and for some of the kids, especially if it's their last year, I mean, this is the biggest event that they have, and there's a lot of pressure for them to obviously do well and try to qualify for the finals.
And you bring up the word pressure, Eric. I think that's something that's so hard to teach and get riders to deal with. And that's one of the first levels of riding in their career where they end up really having the struggle of dealing with pressure, so that if they do stay with the sport and become a veteran rider like a Candace King, they're able to deal with some of that pressure.
Absolutely. And that's part of the reason we do it. It's so that we have, it's really important for the young riders to have to deal with the same pressure or something like the same pressure they're going to have to face later on.
A 4 for the refusal, a 4 for the rail at the final fence on the course. They'll also pick up 2 time penalties for a total of 10 faults. Allie Wolf is in next. Allie is aboard the John Wolf and Blackfoot Ben Farm entry in New Albany, Ohio, the 10-year-old gelding by Casal at 575.
And now we have Allie Wolf on Casal. Allie is really on a roll at the moment. She's brought this horse along herself from a young horse up to the top level. About a year and a half, 2 years now, been competing at the highest levels and has now represented the country a couple times. She was on the winning Nations Cup team in Mexico this summer. Really doing well. Frank, I think it's especially for me, we've all taught kids and brought up young horses, but when you bring up the horse yourself from a young horse, it's extra rewarding. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And people really have to realize two less obvious things about the sport. Number one, it's a partnership, and 2, chemistry between the horse and rider in that partnership is so important. And this pair know each other. They're both very talented, and it's a terrific chemistry.
Absolutely. I mean, we all have to adapt when we get horses, sometimes when they're older, but when you have the opportunity to come up with one and learn all the ins and the outs and the ups and the downs of a horse, when you get to this level and you're walking these courses, for sure the questions are still there, but sometimes it makes it a little easier to answer when you've been through it so many times in that relationship with your horse. We still clear here? Had a rub at the Liverpool, but I think it stayed up.
I'm really hoping because, this is going to be tough. Wow, couple hard rubs, but you need a little luck.
Yeah, this is a very careful horse.
Yes,
Super.
Another clear round. I didn't want to jinx her by saying that I was going to predict a clear round, but with the way these two have been going since early Florida They're really in a zone, and I'm so happy to see her back with a clear.
Yes, one of the most consistent pairs that we have at the moment. Always nice to see.
12 now that qualify for the jump off. We'll move next to Canada and Jordan McPherson, and she is aboard Aldine, number 602. 10-year-old mare by Vitesse K, a Dutch bred owned by the Stud Stables of Canada. There's Aldine and Jordan McPherson.
And now we have Jordan McPherson from Canada on Aldine, a 10-year-old mare. I don't know this horse and rider that well myself, but off to a good start here. Looks good so far.
Now this is a 10-year-old mare. I just love that age for a horse at this level. That's a horse just starting to come into their prime. Would you agree with that, Eric?
Absolutely, absolutely. Most horses wouldn't jump in the Grand Prix until they're 9 normally, and so this is really when you know what you have, and hopefully the start of a good run for 3 to 5 years. When you get a horse like this.
It's really interesting to me is when you go to some of these major events, World Cup finals, Olympic finals, the age of some of the horses, mostly in their mid to late teens.
Correct. They say that a horse is in its prime between 9 and 13 years old, but in our sport, the mileage and the experience is crucial. And so, Frank, you're absolutely right. Which reminds me of a joke from the great John Whitaker when he won a big Grand Prix in Europe a few years ago. I'm not sure if it was Aachen or not. And the horse was 19 years old, and someone asked him what he had up and coming in his string, and he says, yeah, I have a couple good 15, 16-year-olds coming along.
That's the words from a man with quite a bit of experience. So that's great for Jordan McPherson with only the one down, 4-fall total. So I'm sure we're going to see her back on Sunday.
Next we have David Beisel on Call Me Hans, a 9-year-old gelding. Very well bred by Cassini too. We don't see too much of David out in these parts. It's really nice to have him out here.
Yeah, I've got a chance to watch David a little bit this summer. Like you said, he doesn't get out this way that much. I know he was involved with the Million and had a good week there, Socrates. But I would say when I watch David ride, he's a real scrapper.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a fighter every single step, every single jump. I got to see him a little bit more this summer when I was in Michigan showing, and he won a lot from the young horses on to the more experienced horses. So it was nice to get to know him.
These are the kind of riders I love for the kids I work with to watch and maybe take a little bit of the style out of the sport and put a little more of the hunger into it.
Very well put. Yeah, we were talking about the similarity between some of the modern riding styles and how smooth it's gotten and all that kind of thing, but it's so true that when push comes to shove, the blood and guts are still a big part of this sport, and you have to be able to do it.
And there David had the natural Liverpool down, which is not a surprising four-fault for this gray 9-year-old. That's a spooky jump for a horse that really hasn't been out in this field and having experienced that spooky Liverpool. So a total of 12 faults for David and Call Me Hans. So we're just going to have to see how our day shapes up to find out whether David's going to be back with us on Sunday.
And now we have Charlie Jane, again one of our top younger riders who's been on the tour for quite a few years now. Represented our country quite a few Nations Cups. And I know it's very important for him to qualify not only for the weekend but to try to qualify for the World Cup finals.
Yeah, Charlie's a very tall rider. He's several years of experience as a junior in the Hunter ring, equitation ring, junior jumper ring, involved with his family. So it's a real family affair. But Charlie, for his size, for as tall as he is, he's so athletic on a horse.
Absolutely. It's, it doesn't have to be a hindrance. If you have reference to the great Ian Miller, who I think is even a little bit taller than Charlie, it is amazing how much control they have of their upper body and everything else over these big fences.
Fortunate Charlie just had the Fidelity jump down. Fidelity, one of our big sponsors here at the Gold Cup.
So he'll really be trying to keep it together down this last line, of course, to try to just stay on a 4-fault round.
Exactly. Now coming to 12A, Charlie's saying to himself, just do it well. Don't let this 4 turn into an 8. There it just did.
Again, we'll have to see if 8 faults will make it. My guess is a few of them will. Some of the faster 8 faulters will make it, but we'll just have to see.
And Charlie will finish with 2 down, 8 faults and 79.59.
Now, Eric, how does the order work on Sunday? Do they come back in based on today's rankings?
I'm quite sure. I'd have to double check that, but yeah, I'm quite sure that. Well, actually, I'm not sure if it determines the order. A lot of times, the qualifier will determine the order. It'll be in reverse order on down the line.
In right now, the weather is a little bit iffy for the balance of our weekend. That could have a huge impact. It might give somebody a real advantage on Sunday going early if we have a lot of rain with dealing with the grass footing.
Absolutely, and I know there is unfortunately some rain called for Saturday night. And even though this field is in beautiful shape, it can matter. Those first 10 or 15 horses do have a small advantage.
Yeah, dealing with that fresher grass footing.
This is Adrian Sternlick, Riyadh Elby. Fortunately, a rail there at the almost 2-meter wide triple bar.
Yeah, one of our few times that the triple bars come down.
Another fault at fence 7.
Yeah, the Fidelity just came down a second time in a row. Adrian Sternlook just had to circle dealing with the horse that started to maybe green up on her a little bit.
But this is very valuable experience and mileage for these young riders. I mean, they're obviously trying to compete and do as well as they can and qualify for Sunday, but sometimes you just walk away and the experience they gain and learn just by going around this field at this level really, really helps them in the future.
Yeah, and these are the future McLean Wards and BZ Maddens coming along, and there's a lot of eyes watching them. You have, Chef to Keep, Robert Ridlin maybe watching this course on the live stream and really see how some of these young riders are dealing with a little bit of unusual, slightly adverse conditions like they're having here at Old Salem on the grass field in the terrain.
And with the pressure too, and you were mentioning earlier with the kids in the regionals, the pressure is definitely on, and that's how you learn to deal with it, is just by getting out here.
Geez, what a beautiful shot that is of the field. I mean, if you're watching it on live stream, that's great. I hope you're enjoying our live stream cast. But if you have the time, this is a special event. It's a beautiful atmosphere here at Old Salem. The attention to detail is second to none, in my opinion, and the competition's absolutely great. Abigail McCardle's had a great week here at the Gold Cup. Had a win, I believe, on Wednesday.
I think she had a win in one of the other preliminary events yesterday as well, on one of the younger horses.
Unfortunately, she had fence 2 down. Now, what's going through her mind right now, Eric, having an early 4-faulter?
It's the same thing as some of the others. They know they have 4 faults, but at the same time they want to qualify for the weekend or for Sunday. And so they just have to dig down and try a little extra hard and try to just keep it to that one rail.
And from your perspective, having won the American Gold Cup and having ridden in this field quite a bit, I don't think that the footing is really a whole lot different now late in the class as it was early in the class.
No, it doesn't. I don't think so at all. I mean, the footing is, you can see a couple places, you'll see a couple of pieces of grass fly up, but that's just totally natural, just like on a golf course or something. The horses are getting a very good feel and a very secure feeling off the ground here, and it's really a credit to the team here that has prepared this field so beautifully.
Come down for Cade and Abigail. The time is 70:59 on the track today.
So an 8-fault score for Abigail on Cade. Like we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, we're just going to have to see how it all shakes down. And she's inside the bump of our 40-horse field for the American Gold Cup on Sunday.
And now we have next in the ring Skylar Riley, another veteran of the sport. We both know well and have seen around for a long time. Rides out of her own Wolfstone stables, and this must be one of her up-and-coming young horses, 9 years old.
Yeah, Skylar, she used to do a lot of work with my brother John and Beasy and had a lot of success, and then she kind of branched out to start doing things more and more on her own as a professional, and she has just stayed with it, and she really started to blossom this year watching her ride in Palm Beach on the WEF circuit, and this summer she had some very good success in Tryon on that circuit, winning 2, maybe even 3 of the Grand Prix down there.
Yes, I read that. As you said, sticking with it. Sometimes that's what we have to do in this sport, and the horses change over the time, and I think she had the Liverpool down.
Yeah, it looked like he started to push back a little bit.
Yeah, he did peek at that a little bit. But again, it's a young horse, and as you were saying earlier, I think that's it's common. That's how they get that experience. It's so different when they're in the ground and they're real as opposed to the plastic ones. Again, he's obviously a little green, but just like some of the younger riders, I'm sure that horse will benefit from this experience. Another ride for Shane Sweetenham.
16 jumping 1 on the clock for Skylar at 2.7. That's a 17-fault total. 83.02 the time on the course. Shane Sweetenham and Easy Contact Humlun is our next mount. Sweetenham Parliamentary. Rider representing Ireland on the 12-year-old gelding by Quite Easy.
Again, we saw Shane earlier. A veteran of the sport, always a fierce competitor.
Yeah, Shane just a week ago was a leading rider at the Hampton Classic. Had a great week. Looking to back it up here at the American Gold Cup. I think every year we have changes for the better here at Old Salem, hosting the American Gold Cup. And one of the big changes this year is having Longines involved.
Absolutely. A fantastic sponsor of horse sports in general, and now show jumping. It's really nice to have them on board. They're doing a fabulous job and have made a huge commitment.
Well, they're really appreciated here at the Gold Cup and Old Salem Farm, and the team here is doing everything they can to make this a great experience to all of our sponsors, especially Longines.
It's also worth mentioning, Frank, I think that how important and how big the American Gold Cup really is. It's probably, if not the oldest, one of the oldest Grand Prix we have. It was originally part of what we called our Triple Crown. and it's always been one of the most prestigious events to win. I mean, for sure, it was as good of a win as I ever had in my career. It's that important to all these riders and all the sponsors. Once again, 12B. Very, very difficult jump on that hill.
2 down and 8-12 total for Shane and easy contact Hewlin and 79.44 their time on the course. Move next to Peter Lutz. Peter's sport Catherine Gallagher and M. Michael Mellerecci. Robin de Pontoise, number 419.
And now we have Peter Lutz in the ring on Robin de Ponthal. Frank, we've both seen Peter go up in the last years a lot. It's great to see him out here. Fantastic professional.
Yeah, you know, Peter's always been a top rider, even as a junior rider, and soft-spoken, but very strong riding rider to watch. We had the luxury of working with Mary, his business partner, and
who you heard earlier on this,
yeah,
on the broadcast, doing a great job, and she's off like we were, getting some of her students in the ring. But yeah, her and Peter have been together a long time. Had a very good business.
Wow, he jumped the triple bar beautifully. That's a real contradiction, this line. Your triple bar, that a horse really has to get, you know, some height, but really stretch across, and then kind of coil back to 6A, the double verticals. And Peter rode that line about as good as you could ride it, and his horse jumped it, a textbook.
Looking good, Peter.
And you're a course designer, Eric. You do a lot of it. As a course designer, you ask lots of contradictions as far as questions go. You try to get people to notice the problems and then come up with an execution to answer those questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's what it is. It's not just a map of numbers. We continuously ask the questions throughout the course to go forward, to come back, to be careful, and to be what we call rideable. We have to have a horse that's very with us, especially in the modern sport with the light material. There's a variety of questions you can ask, and again, Alan Wade, our course designer here, one of the best at doing that. For sure, it's a little more fun here because of the field. You actually have to be careful as a course designer here. You can't get too tricky, or you can't ask some of the difficult questions you can on a level field, because you can get someone in trouble. That's how much the slope here affects it.
Yeah, in a sense, it's what you don't ask that sometimes is
correct.
Huge.
Correct. And we now have Roberto Terran on Woklahoma, 12-year-old mare. Roberto from Colombia. Been on this circuit a long time, and a lot of major events around the world. Oh, too bad, an unfortunate fault there at 5B. 4B, I'm sorry. But he reminds me a little bit of Frank David, who you said before, a bit of a scrapper.
Yeah.
He's a top rider, gets it done, knows how to dig down deep when it's important.
And not that you stereotype anybody, but yeah, it's very characteristic of these Latin riders. They really know how to dig in and finish and get the job done. But unfortunately, with his couple rails today,
Like he's saving for
Roberto
another
thought
day.
yeah. But these guys, they can do some amazing things and that's kind of the way their system brings them along in some of the Latin countries.
For sure. Yeah, they don't have as much many people around and as much training as we do here in America. So they have to figure it out to some degree more on their own. And it's the toughness, it's the bravery, and it really can help them later on, as we're seeing here.
And the speed they get comfortable with is young riders is great to see.
Now our next competitor, Entre Nous with Lauren Tisbo, another top American young rider. I think we saw Laura earlier. I think that's when I was away, but she seems to have quite a nice string of horses going for her at the moment.
Yeah, Lauren's been doing this well enough. I've got to say she's becoming a young veteran of the sport of Grand Prix show jumping. Has many opportunities getting all these different venues throughout the country. Her family's business, Suncast, has been big supporters of the sport of show jumping, and all their help is greatly appreciated.
Going well here at the moment. Nice to see. Looks like a very careful horse.
Yeah, Lauren has always been an aggressive rider. What I've seen take place, especially over the last, I'd say the last year with her, she's gotten a lot smoother. She's become a lot more accurate, way more consistent. Let's hope she can bring home a clear round.
Yes, down
beautiful.
Difficult
patient,
last line.
Patient right here.
Okay.
Good for her.
Very nice to see. I believe that brings us to what, 13 clear rounds, Frank?
I believe that is our number of clear coming back at this point. 14. We're a little slight. That's what's so nice about having the help of show announcer Oliver Kennedy.
And next we come to Margie Ingle on Royce. Margie has, again, one of the top riders here, has done pretty much everything there is to do in this sport. I think she was Rider of the Year 6 times or something when we had the AGA circuit years ago. She's just nonstop. As long as I can remember, she always has a good group of horses, good owners, and always an extreme competitor.
Yeah, this is always a fun horse to watch. I mean, Margie, one of our true veterans of the sport. But this horse, Royce, is such a scopy, exciting horse to watch in any venue.
Yes, it's fun to watch that extreme power. But he also, as he gets going, sometimes he has a lot of character, and you can see him also fighting for it, just like Margie. They're a good match.
There you just saw the triple bar, all the scope Royce has. Now he's got to come back and be real slow and clever and careful with the doubles, which he was. This vertical here is not a huge problem in itself, but that's a place riders try to deal with time allowed.
Exactly. That's one place where you have to take a short turn and save some time.
Which can then make that a problem.
Exactly. And Margie going clear, obviously knows how hard this last line is, but with her experience. Oh, once
and
again,
even with her
experience, 12AB caught her. That just shows how difficult that can be.
Margie will finish up with 12 on the course, 12 faults and 79.33. 12 faults. Moving next in the order, here's the second ride for Katie Diamond. It's Bijou Igaloo, the 9-year-old mare by Malou Away.
And now we have Katie Dinan on Bijou du Balou. Again, Katie's from the North Salem area here. Really doing well, has settled into the sport nicely. In Europe, competing in Europe quite a lot. Always fun to watch.
Well, that was interesting. She was heading to the first jump, and the horse got a little bit, she's getting a little green at the in-gate, did not go through the timers. I don't know where she is in regards to the 45-second clock. She's got to be getting close to being over.
I don't know if that other horse coming out of the ring just broke his attention for a minute or not. It was hard to tell.
There she just broke the timers. Unfortunately, we don't have a clock to watch to really give you a total accurate sense of the situation. There
because what happens is if they go over the 45 seconds before they get to the first jump, the clock starts anyway, and then they potentially can have time faults.
Unfortunately, she had an early jump 2 down the old Salem Farm vertical. What a beautiful shot and what a beautiful jump we just saw at the
Wow, that horse
triple
really
bar.
jumped up over that.
Yeah, this is a 9-year-old mare. She does have some marish characteristics, both in the plus column and in the negative column. Maybe that was a little bit the problem, being a little marish by the in-gate. But you know, these great mares, they can really put such special efforts into their job, and we're definitely seeing that.
Yes, I'm a big fan of mares. A lot of the best horses I was fortunate enough to have were mares. They're such fighters.
Wow, really fought her way through 12A and B for a nice clear there.
And once again, I think this young horse will benefit tremendously from jumping around on this field. Made a couple of mistakes in the beginning, but Katie stayed and she was solid and finished up very nicely.
So a total of 13 faults for Katie, so that's probably not going to get her in for Sunday.
And now we have Dorothy Douglas from Texas on SNL Elite. This is my first time seeing Dorothy, but it's always good to see some new faces and some new combinations, especially out here.
You know, and that's a really important thing for the management team here at the American Gold Cup and Old Salem Farm. We really want to try to expose this event to the balance of the show jumping world and just get the word out and get more and more high quality people here to Old Salem and the Gold Cup.
But Frank, we both notice even in the last couple of years now that the Gold Cup has found its home here, how so many people are coming again. It's a big draw. Not only Old Salem Farm, but the Gold Cup itself. It's really nice to see, especially in a place like this, and keeping its tradition and keeping how important it really is to everybody in the sport.
Here that we have the Masters going the same week in Calgary as our Gold Cup, so we've lost McLean and
BZ Madden.
But next year they'll all be here. We won't have the same conflict. So if you like this year, you're going to even love next year even more.
Scoring 4 and 79.
So that's a nice showing by Dorothy Douglas with a score of 4 faults.
Very nice round. Very nice round.
Air Force One, and now with Kamagotic representing.
And now we have Kamagotic on Air Force One, an 11-year-old gelding.
You know, Cam has spent a lot of time bringing this horse along. I think it's a very careful horse. I believe it. To me, it's a little fragile. Saw it last year indoors, a totally different venue than what we have here today. But she's done a nice job bringing this young horse along, and let's see how it handles the old Salem grass field.
Exactly, just being another dimension here, it's just that much more difficult. So
and I think it's healthy for our sport, Eric, to continue to have these different venues where you get an opportunity to see the cream rise to the top.
Absolutely, no, for sure. It's not every horse. I mean, for sure, certain horses go better outdoors, indoors, on grass, or on the all-weather footing, which we see so much often these days. But it's, again, I think that's what makes this venue so special. We don't have a lot of grass fields, or as much as we used to, and it's really, really nice to be able to have this opportunity for the horses and riders to come to such a lovely place.
Well, I was talking to a couple of the Grand Prix riders earlier, and the difference between comparing this arena with the different grades and on grass and, say, the arena in the International Ring in Palm Beach. Down in Palm Beach, it's in a jump-off or speed class, it'll take pretty much anything you can throw at it. Where a field like this, it's who can win going the fastest for the conditions.
Absolutely. It sort of does bring me back to the days years ago when we didn't always have perfect footing, and you still had to go very, very fast. But this takes a whole different way to be able, like Frank said, to be able to go fast, keep it together, and deal with the up and the down conditions. You can learn things here that you just can't learn in other places in venues like this.
And that you'd probably have to have in the experience department going to Europe.
Yeah, of course, going to Europe or going to Calgary and Spruce Meadows. And now we have Laura Kraut, one of our veteran riders, on Andretti S. Laura is here. I'm not sure how long she's here. She bases in England. Is always on the circuit, always doing well, represented our country numerous times.
And Laura was our first to go today, first to go clear as well on Devel. Now she's got her eye on getting a piece of the $85,000 in prize money today.
Andretti is one of her younger horses coming up, 10 years old, but still looking very good. Laura just has so much experience. Well, once again, the Liverpool.
Yes, so many horses just peak at that, hang up in the air, and end up having the back rail down. But as far as developing a 10-year-old horse, this is priceless experience. And this is when a team at the end of the day or next week kind of gets together and they talk amongst themselves and discuss what went right, what went wrong in this particular class, and use this experience as a team to make little tweaks. It might be in the feeding program, fitness program, working with the blacksmith, maybe finding other opportunities on the grass. But the problems end up presenting questions, and the questions end up presenting answers.
Next in the ring, we have Ainsley Vince from Canada on Darling, 11-year-old mare. Ainsley's competed for a long time, represented Canada numerous times.
So we have 4 left following Ainsley. And Eric, what are your predictions in regards to the jump off? It looks like we've got 14 or 15 coming back. Do you think we're going to see everybody?
It wouldn't surprise me if a couple of them maybe don't go in the jump off, just just because they know they're in for Sunday and maybe they've been on the circuit or travel or something like that. So we'll just have to see. I mean, the prize money is quite good, so it would be tempting to try to get some of that, wouldn't it?
You know, I've always considered Ainsley to be a top rider. We see her a great deal in Palm Beach. She has not been doing a lot at this level. It's great to see her back at this level, and no rust.
Yes, it's.
You know, that line, that vertical to the in-ground Liverpool, that's a very difficult line. It rides a little steady. To be steadying a horse while they're spooking a little bit at the Liverpool, that's kind of a double negative, and that ends up making a rough experience.
Again, I think that's one of the really good questions that our course designer has asked of these horses and riders today. So, just once again reminds us of how good he is.
Looks like that was an eight fault round for Ainsley, and I believe at this point that's got her solidly in.
It appears that way. I mean, we'll have to see what the final scores are, but.
Brian Walker and now another of our Canadian riders, the Holsteiner mare.
Now we have Brian Walker, another Canadian rider on Tamara 296.
Tomorrow group are the owners.
It's nice to see Brian in this level of competition. Was a top junior, upcoming. Now a nice top professional.
Yeah, Brian is quite familiar with this field. He was the in-house trainer here at Old Salem for a few years. Winner of, I believe it was the Maclay finals.
This had the second fence down, unfortunately.
Yeah, there, look, his horse just looked like he got quite rude in his mouth and drug him right past 4B. Let's see what happens. It's a very similar question right here.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly, Frank. He just kind of drug him right through that as well.
And there, Brian choosing to retire.
And away from Brian, you'll elect to retire within the round, continuing on.
You know, you've ridden on this field and have ridden all your life. I don't have quite the experience you do at this level. But, you know, it's so interesting how footing can really affect the mouth and the rideability of the horse, Eric.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it really can. And as we've been saying all along, and the grade and the up and the downhill, it's just things happen so much quicker when you add those variables to it that your horse has to be that much more responsive. And now we have someone Frank knows, Catherine Tyree. I think you've helped her at some point in time, correct? On a horse called Freestyle Polderhoff. Nice top up-and-coming rider.
Well, she really has been brought along quite well with Missy Clark and John Brennan. They really did a great job with her as a junior rider and doing a super job bringing her here to this international level. And jump via that beautifully.
Really fought for that, to fit that in, didn't she?
I would say 6A and B is probably the most careful part of the course. That looked like a bit of a rider's mistake right there. It looked like she came into that steady four line a little more aggressive than she had intended.
Wanted to.
And then worried about how steady the forward is going to get and really kind of stiffed his jump, didn't let him finish his jump, and had the vertical down behind. Wow, jumped through 12 A and B beautifully.
Okay, very nice round. Yeah, did a very nice job there.
A score of 4 for false, 78-12 is the
Yeah, that's an unfortunate four. It looked to me like she could have easily have gone clear. You could see exactly what went through her mind. She came into that line, like I said, a little hot, panicked a little bit, collected too much too soon, and really interrupted the horse's jump from finishing behind.
Concorero Lanchas LS is on course. Colombia's Daniel Blumen is for the ride on the entry of Daniel.
Our second to last competitor, Daniel Blumen from Colombia, on Concerto Sancha LS.
In the first round, 14 are qualified for the jump.
Trying to add to that list of clear rounds.
Well, you know, Danielle, he is such a fast rider. He had a great week last week out in the Hamptons at the Hampton Clear right now, and chooses to come back in a jump off, being one of the latter ones to jump off. I would say he's got a real strong shot to take the win in this $85,000 American Gold Cup qualifier. Again,
Absolutely.
presented by Windsor Show Stables, and we really appreciate their help.
Well, unfortunately, a rail down at 4B.
You know, the old Salem jump, fence 2, that's come down quite a bit today. I think that jump in itself is not a real big deal jump, but course designer Alan Wade has it going directly towards the pond.
Yes, it's not only directly towards the pond, it's downhill, and it's a rollback turn from fence 1 to 2, and these competitors, again, know that the time allowed is a definite factor. And so right in the plan from the beginning is they know they have to make a neat turn from 1 to 2, so it just makes that second fence that much harder to jump clean.
And then he had fence
13
down with a grand total of 8.
Oh, looks like that was the last competitor. I guess our last Adam is not going to go.
So Eric, is a course designer, after first round and you're adjusting the course for a jump off, what are some of the adjustments you might make?
Well, a little bit depends on the number you have in the jump off, and we have a large field today. So you'll assess during the first round how the horses are jumping, and then depending on the turn you might put a fence up or two. Doesn't happen all the time, but maybe the last jump will go up a hole, something like that. Or if there's a turn, a semi-difficult turn to an oxer, you might see, narrow an oxer up a little bit just for the welfare and the safety of the horses. Those are just a couple examples of what we try to do to make it challenging and a good competition, but still safe for the horses.
So as far as our jump off goes today, they start off over the original fence 1, right by the in gate. They make a right turn. It's a wider right turn. It's to a new jump. It's fence 15. They're then going to make a left-hand turn to fence 4A. They're then going to scoot across with a right turn to fence 6A, our orange vertical that came up in the first round right after that triple bar. They're then going to scoot across to fence 10, 11, fence 10 is our Air Maze Oxer, making that quick right-hand turn up the hill to the Douglas Elliman vertical. And then they're going to make a left-hand turn to fence 12A and B, which was that in and out of the turn. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but they're moving fences 12A and 12B just a little bit in off the rail. Course designer Alan Wade, I think, it really wants to make sure the horses have nice fresh footing for that problematic double. And then they're going to go slightly left to fence 16, which is quite a long gallop to an oxer, slightly rampy, and we'll end up seeing who wins our American Gold Cup qualifier on this beautiful Friday afternoon at Old Salem Farm in North Salem, New York. So Eric, we've got 14 coming back. If you would be so kind, let's just go down that list of 14 that we're planning on seeing coming back.
Well, first we have Laura Kraut. She led off the class, jumped the first really nice clear round. So that's Laura. On Deauville. Then we have Andres Rodriguez, again having a fantastic year, silver medalist at the Pan Am Games. Adam Prudent on Vasco. Kirsten Coe on California. Then Connor Swale on Viva Colombia. Roberto Turan on Arcos de Rosier. Then another Irish rider, Richie Maloney on Caribe Sea. Then our local Katie Denon on Amarettos after that. Followed by Molly Ash-Colley on Cat Ballou. Tracy Fenney on Reve du Paradis. David Blake on Binky. Ali Wolf on Casal. Peter Lutz on Robin de Panthuel. And then finishing up with Lauren Tisbo on Entre Nous. Should be a fantastic jump off.
No, I think this is going to be a very exciting jump off. I don't think anybody's going to take this lightly. I don't know. I've got a little bit of a soft spot with the partnership with Ali Wolf on Casal.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think, as we said earlier, it's so nice to see someone that's brought their own horse along and young and up and coming and done a lot of the work themselves. It just makes it extra special. But for sure, she'll have her work cut out for you. There's a lot of top riders here. Connor Swale, as fast as anybody. Andres, Laura. It will really be a good competition. And interestingly enough, the last fence, as Frank was mentioning, is a ramped oxer. But one of the things the course designer is doing there by having the back rail a little bit higher than the front rail is really encouraging them to gallop, coming home to finish up. So it'll be very exciting.
You know, this level of the sport, Eric, I think is so much like Formula One racing. You know, what you see in Formula One racing is racing in the rain. They race in all conditions. And
absolutely.
You don't get that in a lot of other sports. You know, this is not a sport for the faint-hearted.
No, absolutely not. And what we see, whether it's going here in this ring with a show jumper or on a track like Formula One, there's so many little things that are going on behind the scenes in the team and the sponsorship and everything that it takes to get these top horses and riders to the ring. It's really fascinating, and it's also what makes it extra special on the day when you do win, because it's not only are we matching two personalities, a human and an animal, there's so many things going on that it's really, really hard to win on a given day, especially at this level.
Well, while we're on break, a little bit of a break, waiting for our first coming back in the jump off, we just like to take a second to thank some of our sponsors. We'd really like to thank our sponsor of today's class, Windsor Show Stable. Special thanks goes out to Longines, big, huge supporter of the show. We'd like to thank Danbury Audi. They've been here since the beginning of our first year hosting the American Gold Cup. Trelawney Farm, another local stable, huge supporter. Couldn't do it without all their help. Would love to thank Fidelity, Johnson Horse Transportation, Bevel Saddlery. The list goes on and on. Am I forgetting any big ones, Eric? Douglas Elliman, big one.
Bevel Saddlery.
We got there. We've got a special spot. I particularly enjoy it. It's the Houlihan Lawrence patio, where we've got a lot of entertainment going on up there.
That's a newer addition to the Gold Cup in the last couple years. One thing that you and your team have done here, it's not only great for the horses and riders, but it's equally as great for the spectators, whether you know that much about show jumping or not. There's just so much going on here. It's a beautiful venue, and you can come here and really have a nice time, especially on a nice afternoon like this. Okay, looks like we're almost set for the jump off to start. Okay, and here's Laura, our first competitor in the jump off, again on Deauville S. When you're going first in any jump off, but especially a large jump off like this, I mean, you know your horse, but what you're trying to do is take a very calculated risk as to how fast you can go fast enough, as fast as you can, still leave the jumps up, and try to put as much pressure on as you can on the riders behind you in the order.
Yeah, and Laura's got a little bit of an advantage and disadvantage, but I would say today it's a little bit of an advantage going early because she's dealing with a lot of fresh turf.
Yes.
There's that right-hand turn, a little wider right-hand turn than we had in our first round. It'll really stretch beautifully over there.
Yeah, very direct there.
Yeah, off, quick right-hand turn, and then she just got there to 6A a little flat and had it down behind. This jump off is so much different than what we saw in the Grand Prix last week in Southampton. Last week in Southampton, we saw 4 horses clear. The first 3 that came back all had rails down. And Karen Poley was last to go with Wings. That was a great horse. And I hate to say it coming across as being an easy task, but all she had to do was go clear. Did go clear and ended up winning the Hampton Classic Grand Prix.
Yeah, but that can also be a different risk if you try to be so careful and jump clear, and then you have something down, and then you're not fast enough. So now we have Andres Rodriguez on SF Ariantha, our second horse in the jump off.
This was our best presented horse at the jog, and that award will be presented here after our awards ceremony. Four pounds 45.10, the target to beat.
Andres starts off with a nice gallop to the first jump.
And Andres is very comfortable with speed. This first part of the course really ends up becoming a beautiful S-line. Wow, he caught that a little flat like Laura, but his horse handled it beautifully. This is going to be a competitive time.
Yes.
Wow, cat-like cleverness there.
Unfortunate.
Oh, just got a little.
But again, Andres going early in the order, and he was having a lovely round. Knew he had to take a bit of a chance there at 12A, and that's part of the sport. If you want to try to win these classes, especially with all these top people, you have to take those chances.
At the landing side of the Hermes fence, they were in 24 seconds. 42.08
Next we have Adam Prudhomme on Basco.
Representative of France, the entry of Play Sales and Patrick Flynn.
Adam, the son of Katie and Henri Prudhomme, two of the top people in our sport for a long time.
You know, the winner of today's class is going to be the fastest for the conditions. The fastest
Correct.
for today's conditions, which is a little bit different than what they see, our horses and riders see on a week-to-week.
I think that second fence there for Adam was the perfect example of what this hill can do, Frank. He jumped a beautiful first jump, a beautiful second jump, was getting right there at the third fence, and I think just didn't take it for granted, but I think the hill caught him.
And big open stride and 7 to finish with 1 down.
So again, there's still plenty of horses to go in this, but as you've seen, the first 3 horses went in, took a pretty good shot at it, and have had a rail down trying to win the class. So I think we will see some more of that.
You know, it's so nice to see that they're able to use this field today, and with the amount of rain we had all day yesterday and all last night, and still have as good conditions.
It has as good of a fair competition as we possibly can. Next, we're going to see Kristen Coe, another U.S. rider on California 62.
I think for these conditions, Eric, where there's some variables when it comes to the turf, this is about the most important time as a rider to ride smooth. Erratic riding just doesn't work in this kind of footing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It just becomes more important with all the things that we've been talking about. If you're a little more off balance here or there, it's just easier for the horse to, to slip or to do something like that. It's
beautiful, beautiful.
Really, really nice.
Beautiful.
There. Okay, we now have a clear round. Now the rest of the riders have, something really more to shoot for. And they know that target times because they're all out there watching to see how fast she's going. So that can help them plan their own strategy as they go. And next, one of the fastest riders, Connor Swale, Diva Columbia. As you can see, he'll be looking around for his spots where he's hopefully going to turn and save some precious time off Kristen. Oh, look. On and on.
Beautiful line to fence 2 and clear. His perfect. Track was perfect. Right in on the careful vertical. And there's, to me, Connor's showing some real maturity in dealing with
the conditions. Yeah, you sit up and balance that horse.
It's a little bit of a balancing act, knowing where to take a shot and where not to take a shot. And that's what it's going to take to win this jump off.
Absolutely. Nice gallop to the last.
Boy, those are back-to-back Elon Federer horses. Double 2 clears.
That's right. The first 2 clears, same owner, so we know Elon is happy.
It is a clear and the lead changing hands. 44:59 is the time.
You know, that's something, Eric. His ride to fence 6A, you would not see that in the Grand Prix ring in Palm Beach. It would have been wide open throttle.
Absolutely.
To some adjustment. Connor really, he slowed his horse down to a tolerable speed to jump that fence clear.
He really did. That was beautifully done. Now we have Roberto Turan from Colombia on Arcos de Rosier. He, of course, has watched the previous 2 clear rounds and now really has in mind what he has to do to take the lead. I think, Frank, since 6 seems to be one of the most careful places on this particular jump-off course, where do you think they could make up some time from the previous 2?
I mean, I think it's a big risk to be too fast to fence 12. It's
like you say, it's a balancing act. You really
Yeah,
have to
this is-
decide what your horse's strengths and weaknesses are, and make split-second decisions along the way. It's something that these riders just feel when they're out there, with all the experience that they have. Roberto's going well.
I think this is a little bit slower.
Yes.
He really seemed to go a little bit wide from 1 to 2, and there he just had the rail. I think, as this is shaping up, I think that Lauren Tisbo or an Ali Wolf, being a little young and hungry, taking a good crack at fence 6A, could end up winning this. My odds are on those 2 right now.
Okay, now we have Richie Maloney on Carabas. Richard, a very fast rider. I think Richie, is also, he really is a fighter in the ring. He's not so young anymore, but he's really done well for himself, and everyone puts in effort, but he really, you could see him trying hard all the time.
Well, since he joined, it's gone super for him. I think it's gone great. It's a definite force to be reckoned with on the Grand Prix show circuit.
Seems like he's going a little wide, 1 to 2.
I think what he's doing is looking for a double clear today, a nice piece of the 85,000. Unfortunately, had 1 down. But, Richie's a real horseman, and as much as today's class is an important class, I think his eye is on Sunday's World Cup qualifying class, and he's definitely trying to keep a little bit in the tank with the importance of that class. Beautiful.
Beautiful there through the combination.
I respect his strategy. It's unfortunate he had the 1 down, because if he didn't, he probably would end up in a top 5 ribbon.
4A comes down. He's a 4 fault score for Richie. The slowest of the 4 is 54.98 is his
But again, it's real easy. You make your plan when you go in, and this happens all the time, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and that's just part of what we do. Catherine Dinan, our next rider in the jump off on Amaretto Darko. Even though Katie's a younger rider, she definitely knows how to go fast and knows this field well.
Yeah, Katie's had a lot of experience in this field from her days in the children's jumper ring, junior jumper ring, amateur jumpers. So this is a field she is quite comfortable riding in. Yeah, she knows how the grade can play tricks on your eye and
Absolutely.
tricks on a horse's balance.
Very nice to 6. He came right to that.
Yeah, I think she's a little quicker than Connor Swale.
I think close to Connor's time. We'll see. But she needs to make a neat turn here. Beautiful there.
Added a stride to the last jump.
Yeah.
Played a little safe.
A little bit, yeah. She might have been thinking what you were saying about the previous rider. I mean, she definitely gave it a shot, but trying to maybe leave a little bit in the tank for Sunday. That horse jumped beautifully.
Yeah. Beautiful double clear round day for Katie, putting her in the third place. Well, this is a rider you're real familiar with and what makes her tick.
Our next rider, Molly Ashcalli on Cat Blue. Yes, know Molly well. A first fierce competitor.
You know, Molly's got a really nice partnership going on with her involvement with Beth Johnson and Lewisburg Farm. I just see that whole group and the chemistry of that group really starting to gel.
Yes, it's a great opportunity for Molly or for both parties. And you can just see pretty much on a weekly basis as she gets to know these horses.
Well, it looked like she ended up adding a stride there, but
she did as the relationships build. So, wow.
That's where the partnership becomes mutual. The other horse really dug in for Molly. And based on her plan, it looks like she just wants a nice double clear round day as well.
Yeah, it looks that way. Unfortunate there, but the horse is jumping well. Wow.
Yeah, she rides that horse beautifully.
Yes, that was unfortunate. It's the way it goes sometimes. She really gave that horse a nice ride.
And you know, that's a great example, Eric, of how the back rail of that Longines Oxer came down with the breakaway cups. It really has made the sport a much safer sport for both the rider and the horse.
Yes, absolutely. As Frank was saying, now on the back rail of all of the Oxers, the spread fences, there are safety cups. So if the rider or the horse makes a little bit of a mistake, the rail just automatically falls down, and
it's a quick release.
It's a quick release, and it's a lot harder to have a bigger problem. Next rider in the ring, Tracy Fenney and Rebe du Paradis.
Yeah, you can never count Tracy out. She's always an eager, hungry rider. And, you know, a lot of these professionals live by the prize money.
Yes.
Unfortunately, just had the Oxer down, back rail. Her partner in crime, Mike McCormick, just had a big birthday earlier this week. Mike is one of those horsemen in the sport that seems ageless. There, Tracy's going to finish up with a nice solid round going into Sunday, four fault.
And the World Cup qualifier on Sunday, now with the change in the schedule the last couple years, I think each competition is even more important, Frank, correct? There's less of them?
Yeah, you know, this is part of the North American League. There's few less qualifying classes and a few less riders getting into the finals. So as the sport becomes more competitive, it also becomes more difficult.
Next we have David Blake from Ireland on Binky.
Yeah, here David, you know, he's going late enough in the class that he's being very savvy by showing his horse a turn to fence 6A. That's the vertical everyone's been taking a little extra time to.
Yeah, in general, it seems like some of these riders now, after watching the first few, have slowed down a little bit, huh? Or taking just a little bit more careful to try to avoid having that rail down.
Yeah.
Again, because of the field, because of the conditions. This is.
And when you really study jump offs, and I had the opportunity the last couple of years to do a lot of the commentating in Palm Beach. When you see people jumping on a level ring and on the artificial turf, the jump offs are so close in time. You get a lot of double clears in the jump offs, where eventually they're kind of all over the map.
Absolutely. As an example, some of the biggest classes in Palm Beach, the top 6 will be decided by less than a second.
Yep. Yep.
All right, our next competitor, Ali Wolf on Casal.
So this is, again, this is a partnership that's been built over years. Ali has been in these similar conditions many, many times. You know, these are the kind of partnerships when a rider makes a little mistake, the horse helps compensate, and vice versa.
Absolutely. It goes both ways all the time.
So by the looks of it, just with her approach to fence 1, I got to say Ali's in it for the win.
I agree. She's taking a little more of a shot at fence 1.
And her trainer, Michelle Grubb, she's old school. She doesn't let Ali get weak. Look at that.
Right, direct, very nice.
Now here she's going to take a shot that most won't be able to do like she can. Watch this. Beautiful.
Beautifully done.
Cat-like.
Really balanced that horse. And now she's galloping again.
You know, Frank Chapeau used to call Gem Twist a brave chicken, and this is exactly what you're seeing here with Casal and Ali Wolf. Brave enough to go, chicken enough not to knock a jump down. Look at that.
Look at that.
Sets
Very
himself
beautiful.
and then still gets across the back. Wow.
Wow, that's surprising, yeah. She looked a little faster than that, didn't she, Frank?
Yeah, I thought she was right on the target time.
Connor's deceiving. He's so smooth, like you were saying earlier, that sometimes he doesn't look as fast as they're going when you're that smooth.
Yeah, and there's 2 other riders that come to mind that are just like that. That's Beasy and McLean Ward. You know, they'll just kill you on track.
Absolutely. Next we have Peter Lutz on Robin de Pontual. We'll see what his strategy is today.
I don't think Peter's taken this lightly.
No.
There's 7 strides to the oxer. There the footing gave up a little bit, which might have been a blessing to 6A, because it just kind of put him back in check.
Balanced him right up.
But that's, you know, Peter's experience in these conditions. That didn't rattle him at all. He used it to his advantage. Just jumped the Douglas element in beautiful style. I'd love it if Peter really got a top ribbon here. Gets there in 7, doesn't rush his horse. Beautiful.
Clear round. He's
Beautiful.
okay, for sure the tiny slip maybe cost him a half a second or so there, but again, there was nothing he could have done about it. He didn't panic. Jumped a beautiful clear round. Our last competitor to go today is Lauren Tisbo on Entre Nous. We see her looking at the turn to fence 6.
You know, Lauren, I could easily see her throwing caution to the wind if the footing holds up. Connor's going to see himself a Oh, that's an unfortunate big mistake. Lauren kind of missed the distance defense one and had the back rail down.
But she was giving it a go.
Well, that was unfortunate for
Lauren. Yes.
for Lauren at that first jump. Well, Eric, it was a great day here at Old Salem at the American Gold Cup $85,000 qualifier presented by Windsor Show Stables. It's been a pleasure working with you today. Congratulations to Connor Swale.
Absolutely.
And we're going to jump off the air and toss this up to Oliver Kennedy. He'll have the ribbons and presentations, and then there'll be a post-game show to follow. Thanks for coming. Thanks for following us.
Thank you, Frank.
Swale will take the top prize in our American Gold Cup qualifier today. And nice salute here to our winning combination. Nice salute here as we'll be riding back our top for the award presentation, our prize giving coming up. Exciting finish here to our Grand Prix again. It's brought to you by the Windsor Show Stables. Again, our presenting sponsor of our $85,000 American Gold Cup qualifier. Again, a ranking class here for our Longines World Rankings, and earning valuable points here for that the winner, Connor Swale, and Viva Colombia. Simolko will bring us our top three as he leads the win. Let's give a nice welcome back to our top three finishers. Led off here by Connor Swale of Ireland, Colombia. salute here for Connor Swale aboard the Elan Furter-owned 10-year-old mare Viva Colombia, the entry by Khalil Rubin, and they will take the top check of $28,050 in a time of 44.59 seconds on their way to the victory as we salute our winning combination here, representing Ireland, Connor Swale aboard Viva Colombia, the entry of Elan Furter. Again, nice salutes here with Connor Swale and Viva Colombia, our winners, a time of 44.59 seconds. Moving to our second award, the second place, just a hair off of the pace in 45.17. It will go to Allie Wolf on the Blacklick Ben Farms entry Casal, the 10-year-old gelding, owned again by the Blacklick Ben Farm, and 45.17. Allie Wolf and Casal will take the second honors and a check for $17,000. And our third award will go to Peter Lutz, and he has the ride on the entry of Catherine Gallagher and M. Michael Meller, as the third place to Robin de Pathlal, the 10-year-old stallion by Elf Door, $12,750 earned in a time of 45.18, just 1/100th of a second off of the time for the second place entry. Peter Lutz and Robin de Pathlal will finish up in third place. And it is time now. Connor, if you would, lead us off on the round of honor, our victory lap from Viva Colombia and
letting it go, turning my cheek for the sake of the show. Now that you know this is my life, I won't be told it's supposed to be right. No one can hold me back. I ain't got time for that. Won't get me down. It's all so simple now. Addicted to love I found. Heavy heart now a weightless cloud. Making time for the ones that count. I'll spend the rest of my time laughing hard with the windows down. Leaving footprints all over town. Keeping faith calm comes around. I won't spend the rest of catching my breath, letting it go, turning my cheek for the sake of the show. Now that you know this is my life, I won't be told it's supposed to be right. Catch my breath, no one can hold me back. I ain't got time for that.
next we'll present our Horse and Style of Riding Award. Again, we congratulate our winner today of the Style of Riding Award presented by Horse and Style, and that will be Laura Kraut. The Horse and Style of Riding Award winner for the East. Horse and Style is thrilled to recognize standout classic horsemanship and riding style from coast to coast by presenting the Horse and Style of Riding Award at the American Gold Cup. Laura Kraut exemplifies what it means to be respectful, dignified, courteous, and workmanlike outside the ring while displaying impeccable American style of equitation in the ring. Congratulations to Laura Kraut, our winner of the Horse and Style of Riding Award. Nice salute to Laura Kraut, our Style of Riding Award winner from Horse and Style. And now we'll present the best presented horse that took place. The award was given to the horse that was best presented at the FEI Jog. Our horse inspection that took place earlier this week is presented by Equus, and representing Equus, the fine shops, is Alex West. And Andreas Rodriguez was our winner with his mount SF Ariantha, winner of our best presented horse at the FEI Jog, as Equus salutes the turnout, the dedication behind the scenes, and again to the little details that bring out the best in horse care and management, as the best presented horse awarded to Equus, from Equus, Alex West, presenting to Andreas Rodriguez and SF Ariantha. The after party, well, it's time to get underway up on the Houlihan Lawrence deck. It's brought to you by Old Salem Farm, the American Gold Cup, barbecue beverages, and the Bourbon Cowboys will be kicking off with entertainment here shortly as we again celebrate the victory of Connor Swale, and Viva Colombia.
All good. You happy, Jessica?
Yeah, I just need to make sure Connor doesn't know something.
I'd say what drives me is a competitive nature to be the best. I think it's a real game of concentration, putting yourself in the horse's head a little bit. I hear the rhythm of a horse covering the ground, the breathing of the horse, and the horse gives you the feeling of flight. You feel like you grow with them, and you train them, and you teach them, and they really become a part of the family.
You trained, ran, jumped, and literally carried people to victory. But even that may not be enough. Each year, nearly 100,000 horses in the U.S. will suffer neglect, abandonment, or a cruel premature death as they're auctioned off by the pound.
Take action for horses now at aspca.org/horse.
What makes Danbury Audi elite?
I deliver the customer service that I'd expect, and that's my philosophy.
It's inspiring. Everyone here is extremely driven.
Because honestly, this is a great way to make a living sharing my Audi experience and obsession.
We make sure every service is flawless. That's what we train for.
When a customer asks for me by name, I know I've done my job to the very best of my ability.
See for yourself why Danbury Audi is the tri-state area's only Audi Magna Society elite dealer. The moment you step into Danbury Porsche, you'll know why we've been named a Porsche Premier Dealer 8 times. As one of the first-generation Ford dealerships, our facilities are the epitome of elegance and technological achievement. And in the exclusive fitting room, you can turn your passion into a full-blown obsession. And we don't blame you.